Here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on a Wednesday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go across to our friends over in the US, and we're heading to the east coast of the States to one of our music artists over there that we've had on the show recently. Of course, her name's Erin McAndrew. She joins us right now. Thanks, Erin, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back again.
No worries. Well, since we last had you on the show, which would have been last year, how has it been for you over there in regards to the music side of things, which I'm assuming everything's starting to open up over there in the US?
Yeah, so it's been really, really good. I would say, so my family and I, we moved from Los Angeles back to the East Coast. We now live in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. But beginning this year, I started booking dates pretty much as soon as I got back. Well, once after the holidays and everything. So like beginning of this year, I started booking dates again. So I'm pretty booked up this summer, which is great. It's such a difference from last summer where I really was barely playing at all. So it's nice to have live music back again, and people are just like itching to get out there and see live music. So it's been really exciting to be able to get back out there and play again. And I'm playing all different venues because I'm obviously on the East Coast. So that's been exciting too, to explore different venues. And I play mostly wineries, so to be able to try different wines at other wineries as well, that's obviously an added benefit for me. So yeah, it's been great to be able to start playing again, and for live music to be making a comeback for sure.
You mentioned that you moved back from the West Coast to the East Coast again. I guess last year I wasn't great in regards to music at all. Now you're back over on the East Coast, where I was just a bit more populated and obviously more opportunities over there. I guess, do you miss the West Coast, and are you hoping to go back to the West Coast eventually?
So my husband and I are originally from the East Coast. We're both originally from New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. So we had moved out to Los Angeles for like our careers to like basically grow ourselves in that way. And over the past year, we just saw it as obviously a more important thing for us to be close to our families again. So I don't foresee us moving back to the West Coast anytime soon. Maybe somewhere really far down the road. But obviously not for the foreseeable future. I do really miss it. There are certain things that I miss for sure, and that I know I'm going to miss over time, just as time passes. But it's a plane ride away. I can always go visit. And now that we know so many different places around there to go see and have our favorite spots. So, and I made some really good relationships out there with venues that I know would be more than happy to have me back if I were in town, as long as I scheduled it with them enough in advance. So, no regrets. I obviously am glad that we even did it in the first place. So that's the long answer to that question.
So you mentioned that you got some gigs booked over the summer over there. You might as well tell us when's your next gig coming up, and or especially the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so next weekend, or actually, sorry, this weekend, this Saturday, I'm playing at this place. It's called Crossing Vineyards and Winery. It's in Pennsylvania, actually, so it's pretty close to where we live. It's a beautiful, beautiful winery. It actually reminds me of a California winery, just because of how beautiful and how many vines there are. So I'm playing there this Saturday. And then I'm actually on vacation for a few weeks. And then towards the end of July, I'm going to be playing at that same winery. I'm basically playing that winery almost all summer. They've booked me there pretty consistently, which is awesome. And then I'm playing this other winery. It's called Old York Cellars. I'm playing there at the end of July there in New Jersey. So, so yeah, so I'm gonna have a busy end of the summer. I've been playing gigs a little more sporadically this month and last month, but August for sure, and the end of July are going to be busy months that's for sure.
So it sounds like it's got most of it's in your local area, in the
Yeah.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. I guess, are you hoping to expand hopefully a little bit further than just the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area?
Yeah, eventually for sure. At the moment right now, it's my priorities are in other places. You know, I had a baby last May, so my son is quite young and can only really travel so far for a weekend. So that is something that I take into consideration at the moment. In the future, I do foresee, you know, exploring a lot of other states. I'd love to play, you know, really up and down the East Coast, and then, you know, go to some places in the Midwest eventually. You know, I'd love to play Nashville. But I think that those are not necessarily super far in the future, but like I'm still kind of feel like I'm in the process of getting settled here because everything has just, I feel like, kind of been a whirlwind since we got here. So yeah, so in time, I do see myself playing other places. One of the things that I do like about the East Coast over the West Coast sometimes is California spans like so much of the West Coast. Obviously, you have, you know, Washington and you have Oregon, but there are so many little states up and down the
Yeah.
East Coast. So there is that opportunity to play all these different places, and they're all so different. So I am definitely excited for the future to be able to play different other places. But I don't foresee it happening in the immediate future, if that makes sense.
You mentioned before that I'm assuming you've already played this summer, or sorry, spring/summer over there. How good is to perform live in front of people, and especially, I'm assuming everything's been in a COVID safe way over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been wonderful. You know, things are pretty close to normal here now. So it's kind of like we went into this like hole for a year, and then like we're slowly coming out and things seem more normal again. So yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and it just is nice to be able to perform in front of people again, and it's fun to be able to like have conversations with people again and have people request songs and interact with people and whatnot. So that's been really, really fun.
What has been some feedback from your amazing fans over there and now in the East Coast?
Well, one thing that I've noticed that is a huge difference, and I'm sure that there was some of this in California too, but I played all over Southern California and didn't really stick to one area within New Jersey. Like, you know, I'm like within New Jersey and Pennsylvania within like a 40 to 50 mile radius. Obviously, I play other places too, but the main core that I play is within a very like centralized area where I played all over Southern California. So I feel like it was kind of difficult to really get a following to a certain extent because I was playing this venue one weekend, this venue another weekend, this venue another weekend. And there were some repeats, and I did have some people that did come to see me. But what I have noticed here is the fact that because a lot of the venues I play are close together, I have actually feel like I've been able to gain more of a following because, you know, I'll have this couple that comes to see me at this one venue, and they realize that I'm playing someplace else that's 25 minutes away. So they go to that venue and they bring their friends. So the feedback has been great. It's really exciting to see that community grow, and to be able to have those kind of supporters that just bop around to the different places I play at, and really kind of creating those, you know, friendships and relationships. You know, like there's this one couple that makes their own wine, and they have come to see me a few times, and they gave me a bottle of their wine that they make. So it's like, it's, you know, it's really creating those connections with people that I think is going to be great over time, especially as I continue to grow my fan base even more local around here. And that's, I think, an experience that I've been excited about living here as opposed to living in Southern California, because there's just so many different communities there that sometimes it is hard to create that following.
Have you got any new music coming out soon?
Unfortunately, no. But it's kind of been one of those things where I've been writing lyrics from time to time. For me, it's been very difficult, and I've had a few conversations with other musicians about this. There's been like two sides of the spectrum this past year with everything that's gone on. You've either had the musicians that have been creating like crazy and have written all this, like written albums of music and like so much music. And then you have the other side that I sit on, where I've been having a really difficult time getting into a creative headspace and being able to find like that time, I guess, for myself to really get into a creative flow. And I've talked to other musicians who have experienced this as well. And I think it's just because of there's been so many an emotional roller coaster this past year for many people, not just musicians, for several people. And I think that I'm one of those musicians where where you'd think that all of the songs would be flowing out of me, but they haven't been. And it's one of those things where I just can't write to write, like I write with intention and I write with inspiration. So I'm working on that. I'm creating some time and space for myself in certain days of the week where I'm just going to sit with my guitar and start playing and see what happens. But it's really just prioritizing that time. So my hope is that I start getting a lot more consistent with it again, and that over time I can get another album out there. I would love to self-record this one. And I think I said that last year, and then just, a roller coaster of things happened, as life does. Right. So in time, I do see myself releasing something else. Hopefully within the next year. It'll probably be like similar to my last release, which was like 3 or 4 songs, especially since I'm going to be self-recording them on my own. But yeah, stay tuned for that. I really hope it's going to be within the next year, but I don't have any definite dates, obviously.
Which is, what does the music industry mean to you now?
Well, I will say, and I think I might have said this before in previous interviews with you, but I see the industry as two completely, like, I see it as there's lots of different aspects and entities of the music industry, right? You have the like super corporate music industry, which I don't associate with. I don't associate myself with that industry at all, because that's a whole other rabbit hole I could go down, but I'm not going to go down it. And it could get a little messy, so I'm not going to go down it, but there's a lot that goes on in the corporate music industry that I just do not agree with. And I'm sure that a lot of other musicians that are listening would also agree with me with that. And then you have this other independent industry music industry that's very grassroots, that's independent musicians really making a name for themselves, creating a really, really engaged fan base, which I think is much more powerful. That's the music industry that I associate with, and that's the music industry I want to be associated with. I have no desire whatsoever to be signed to a label and sign my life away. Again, there's so much I could get into, but I'm not going to. The music industry that I like, that it means a lot to me to be able to connect with people. That's what it really comes down to for me, to create music that people will resonate with, to create music for people that that connects, can find a connection to me and to them through my music. So that means a lot to me, to be able to create those connections with people, because if we don't have that community and we don't have that fan base, then we're just creating the music for ourselves. And for some people, that's okay. But I do like to help create music for other people to enjoy, and to like. So that's the music industry that I associate with, and that's what the music industry means to me that I associate with. We're not going to talk about the other music industry.
No, completely understand. Everyone that should follow your music and obviously your latest gigs coming up, especially if they're in the US at the moment, as long as they're fully vaccinated, I'm assuming, over there. Where can they find your music and of course on and as well as your socials?
So they can go to, actually, if you want to get some free downloads from me, you can go to freemusicfromerin.com. You just put your name and email in, and I'll send you some free music from me. My website is also a great place for a little bit of everything. You can see where I'm playing. You can see, I have my merch up there where you can, buy my albums and whatnot. So that's erinmcmusic.com. That's erinmcmusic.com. And then for socials, I'm mostly on Twitter and Instagram, mostly Twitter, for music stuff. But the handle's the same for Instagram and Twitter. So that's at I am Erin McAndrew. And yeah, feel free, if you listen to this episode, to shoot me a DM and let's chat.
You've forgotten a lyric to a song since you've gone back to doing things live performance?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of these things too where I feel like sometimes I'll just start, like I'll forget completely completely playing a verse. Like I'm like, oh wait, I missed this verse of this song, and like even like forgetting my own lyrics, like it happens so often, a lot more often than people think, like other musicians I'm sure would agree with me, but oh yeah, it definitely happens. And when I play, I actually, since I'm a cover artist as well, I do carry like an iPad with me that has all of my chords and whatnot. But even then, I just use that for reference, and sometimes I still forget things. So, it sometimes it's just there is a guide, and it doesn't always work. So, but yeah, I for sure forget it, and I think that makes us human. If someone said that they never forget it, I'm like, you're a liar. Like but like nobody is perfect. So.
And obviously I've got to ask this last one, which is, do you have a pre-performance superstition or ritual now? And considering now you've got a newborn with you.
I don't too much. I think it's like kind of changed over the years. I always like warm up my voice beforehand, which I think is just the boring normal thing that a lot of people do, but not really, to be honest. It just kind of naturally comes to me. I don't have any kind of superstitions or anything I do. I'm sure if I was performing in front of huge crowds, maybe that would be something that would change, but every show I do is so different and has a different setup. So I think it really just kind of depends on the day. But yeah, I think it really just vocal warm-ups. That's the only thing, just to make sure that my voice is all set and ready to go. I know that's a boring answer, but that's all I got.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for getting up your time to join us. Obviously, with your busy schedule that you got coming on, especially with the newborn, and luckily they're still asleep at the moment, so that's good news. So thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll catch up with you again a little bit later on this year to tell us how it's all been during this summer in particular over there, and see how it's all going over there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on again.
No worries. And that's Erin McAndrew there joining us. Of course, as she mentioned, you can follow her on the website and, of course, on her social, on Twitter and on Insta. We'll put all the details up on how you can go about following her music and her gigs coming up if you're over in the US, and trying to check her performances out over there, especially on the East Coast. There's more on the Smasher Evening Show right after this. Don't go away here on the Wednesday edition.